So, am I, like, I'm not going to be, like, any sisterly questions. That's how I didn't plan it, like, with it being...
It could be, like, you just being an interviewer.
Yeah, that's how I framed my question.
Yeah, but of course you can still ask, like, sisterly questions and still give me, like, sisterly advice. I still want it to be personal in a way, you know, because at the end of the day, I still want us to have a conversation.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Are we recording?
We're going.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cheers, Alex.
Thank you, Kristina.
Glad you're here.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's first start off. I want you to give me a mini introduction about yourself to help everyone let you know who you are and what you are about.
So, if you guys are watching this, you obviously know who I am, but just in case if you don't, my name is Alex Alvarado. A lot of people know me as Coach Alvarado. Friends know me as Oso. Family knows me as Alex.
Awesome. And then tell us kind of about your history, like where are you from? A little bit of details, but not too much.
Gotcha. Born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas. Born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas. Pretty much lived here my whole life until I graduated high school. Went over to Missouri and Joplin for a little bit, you know, right out of college, and came back, ended up at Midwestern State, and 24 years old now, graduated just in 2023 after I finished my college career, brought me back home.
All right, and then throughout your whole college career, you were playing?
I was playing football.
What position were you?
Defensive line. I started off playing a little bit of DN, defensive tackle, nose guard, right? From my football maniacs out there, 5 tech, 3 tech, and 2Y. Those are kind of my main things. As I got older and developed more as an athlete, I really loved and settled down in the 3 tech position. As I kind of grew, got stronger, and became more as a man, just developing in my college years. All my college coaches really just harped on saying, like, I'm a true 3 tech. But I love playing that 5 technique, 7 technique, which is defensive end, because, I mean, it's a lot easier. And I wouldn't say easier, they're both a very difficult position to play. But I'd rather go against a tackle any day than, you know, being double teamed down inside in the 3 tech, you know, where you're going to double team from the guard and tackle blocking down your hip, and then the center's coming to check you on the shoulder, you know, where you kind of have to anchor down and be a little bit more physical down there. And that's kind of why I really believe that I grew into a 3 tech, just because I like the physicality of football. I like imposing my will on other people, as some of my coaches might say, but really just because you're closer to the ball, which means you're closer to the quarterback. So every now and then when you do get those one-on-ones in the 3 tech position, you got to take advantage of those. And I feel like that's where I shine, where I could take advantage of, you know, whether if I'm in a 3 tech, 5 tech, or just any mismatches up and down the field.
Okay, very cool. That kind of helps lead me into my next question. I want to know what initially drew you to the sport of football, and when did you realize you wanted to pursue it seriously? Now you are, you know, you played throughout your college years, and now you're about to go overseas and play in Germany. So, you know, what initially drew you to the sport?
Well, you know, coming from a football family, my older brother, Anthony, I know as soon as I can remember, you know, as soon as I developed that age, he's 5 years older than me. So I feel like ever since I was in diapers, going to his games and my dad coaching us, being our coaches from being in Pee Wee all the way up to middle school and high school, and him even still coaching us when we're in middle school and high school, yelling from the sidelines, hearing his whistle, you know, like, use your hand, da da da. And so he was our coach, right, up until then, but he never stopped coaching us. And just being in Texas, where it's, you know, it's God family football, and some people might rearrange those 3 in any way, however you feel. For me, it's God family football. So coming from, you know, just Texas, where it's kind of just you're born to play, it's bred in you, it's in our DNA. Coming from a football family, I know my dad played football, and then, you know, being in diapers, going to all my brother's games, going to my brother's practices, seeing him play at a high level. It's not thunder, right?
Yeah, listening to you.
just coming from a football family, and just really, as I got older, the reason why I stuck to it was because I feel like when I was a kid, and even now then, it just depending on who I'm around, I feel like I'm kind of just to myself in a way, and so.
Should we pause?
All right. But I had a cut right there for the Thunder, and to pick up where I left off. Basically, I feel like when I was younger, and even kind of now growing up, where being the youngest in my family, it was really hard for me to really kind of express myself and just be around. I was always around older people, you know what I mean? So I felt like no one wants to hear what this young kid has to say. If I'm always hanging out with my older siblings, your friends, Anthony's friends, where they're a lot older than me, and I was just big as a kid, so everyone always thought I was older too. But I really just kept to myself and just opened my ears instead of opening my mouth. And so when I was playing football, I feel like that was the best way for me to express myself.
Okay. That makes complete sense. Can you share a memorable moment from your early football days that had a significant impact on your development as a player?
Okay, that's a great question. So as far back as I can remember, this is what my dad told me. He said that when he noticed me developing as a football player, and for me it was kind of hard to see what he was telling me. I kind of just kept it in the back of my mind, and then as I got older, I feel like I finally understood it. But I was playing in Texas School of Football, and we did tournaments, and we traveled around playing different states, playing in different tournaments. And I was probably in 4th, 5th grade. It was early in my career. I feel like I was still in elementary school. I was playing for the Titans, and we went out to North Carolina, and it was a 12U tournament, but I think we were all 9, 10 years old playing against 12-year-olds, and even then I feel like there was probably some 13 or 14-year-olds over there. You know how coaches are, everyone's trying to just finesse and trying to get the best kids to play for them. So that was when my dad told me, he kind of saw me like flip a switch, and he noticed that's kind of when I really became a great football player. That's kind of when I started to come out of my shell and understand
Saw
the game.
Something in you.
Yeah, right. And to really build off of that, it was, when it comes to dad, I mean, if he says, he's always going to keep it real with me, and that's why I feel like I always try to keep it real with everyone else, especially with my students and my kids. And I know if he liked it and he liked what he saw, then everyone else is going to love it. So.
Kind of to go piggyback off that, how has your family supported you in your football journey, and what role, if any, do you think that they played in your success?
Yeah, well, first of all, that's just a blessing coming from the family I have. Not necessarily, we didn't have the best circumstances kind of growing up, but, I had a mom and a dad, and that's saying a lot. I had a great support system with you guys always supporting me, and I feel like that's the reason why I'm able to take this opportunity, is because you guys are taking care of your business, where it's allowing me, to go pursue my dreams further instead of having to go work and just try to bring some money in, where it's allowing me to go overseas and disappear for 8 months basically out of everyone's life. And that's really gratitude towards y'all, which is emotionally supporting me, financially supporting me, and really just always pushing me to be better.
Okay, I think, you mentioned, family, not, you say we had struggles growing up, but one thing that we always had was each other, you know, and that's, I think what you were trying to touch on, just us being there, and then, showing up to the games. That I never missed a game, never missed a practice, that's always, that means a lot, more than people can think.
Right. Yeah, and it just means a lot, having that support system, with having Anthony playing, my brother playing at a high level, my dad kind of learning more as we're going through with Anthony, and he's able to pour that into me. I feel like I've been very blessed with, you guys pouring into me. When I say family, I'm not just talking about just blood related as well. I feel like there's a lot of teammates and coaches that I consider family that just consistently and constantly pour into me. And that's kind of where I'm liking this job where I'm at, where I'm teaching and coaching, is because I'm able to pour into these kids the same way you guys poured into me, and some people might not have that support.
Yeah, very true, very true. I kind of want to switch gears a little bit, and touch base on the fact that you're going to Germany. For 8 months, you said. You leave when?
What's today, the 9th? So just got my flight details today. Originally thought it was going to be the 15th, but everything came in today, leaving April 17th.
Okay, so it's still right around the corner.
Still right around the corner.
What challenges do you think you will face transitioning to playing football professionally in Germany, and then how do you plan to overcome them?
So that's kind of been on my mind a little bit. Not necessarily the football part, because I feel like as long as I'm playing in the same rules that I know and I understand, which in the NFL Europe over there, they go by NCAA rules, right? I just got done playing NCAA rules, which is college rules. And football, football is football to me. We could be in Germany, we could be in the parking lot, we could be in the backyard. I mean, I just need a football. And football is football to me. What I'm kind of mostly been thinking about is just obviously the transition, the jet lag, right? Going out there, not necessarily knowing anybody. This is the furthest I've been away in my entire life, not just whether it feels like visiting or going out of the country. This is the furthest I've ever been at all. And thinking about what I'm going to overcome, I'm not necessarily concerned about the culture shock, because I know the European and American lives, they're similar in ways. Obviously, there's going to be that language barrier, but talking to a lot of people who have experienced Germany, whether if it was athletically, like Craig and a couple of my friends that are playing basketball over there in Europe and Germany, they tell me that they speak English is not very good. You kind of have to be willing to show them how bad you are at speaking German, and then they'll be willing to show you and try to help you out speaking bad English.
Right. I do hear that Germans are more on the friendly side of the Europeans.
Yeah, they're stern. Just the language alone.
That's it. Their language is hard. Yeah.
Language is hard. It sounds kind of aggressive depending on like how you're saying it, but any language that you hear for the first time could be considered aggressive or just misleading.
Not familiar with it.
Not familiar with it, right? So when I was in Missouri, man, we had a lot of Samoans. And I don't know if you heard anybody speak Samoan before, but it was like, dog, that sounds aggressive.
Harsh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and that's some big scare. Like that small island, there's some big people coming out of it. So, yeah.
You'll be fine, I'm sure.
Sure of it.
Off the field, what hobbies or interests do you enjoy that help you unwind from the intensity of the game?
Right, and so with hobbies like that, obviously playing video games, man. I love spending time on my Xbox when I get the time to do so.
What's your go-to game at the moment?
Apex, right? So, and y'all want to hit me up and grind some ranked, I'll carry you for a little bit, right? Play a little bit of Rocket League when there's no one to squad up with on Apex, because it's just more of a solo queue, and I can kind of just chill and play some Rocket League, which is like car soccer, flying up in the air.
Okay.
And Apex is more, you have to be kind of locked in. It gets competitive, it gets intense. GTA is always cool, just to kind of buy some time with, right? So that's kind of like the video game aspect of it, whereas I kind of grew into loving the weight room. So if I ever had extra time on my hands and I'm bored, I can only play the game for so much before I just get a headache or I get tired of it, or just get upset and just turn it off. Or it's like, okay, let me go work out, right? And just here recently, like about 2-3 years ago, that's when I got my first motorcycle, and I kind of enjoying just where like, it's good to have a group to ride with, but I could always just throw on my helmet, throw on my riding gear, and just put the Bluetooth on and just, ride around and just kind of take everything away for a little bit.
Weirdly enough, that does sound relaxing and like a really good outlet just to like hit the road and.
Exactly, right. I don't do anything crazy on it. People always scared of the bikes because they always see like those small clips or little
Mm-hmm.
videos of people going like 150, 200. Whereas like me, I'm just cruising, just kind of enjoying the like a steel horse, you know,
Yeah,
concrete
yeah.
cowboy.
I like that steel horse. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a steel horse. There it goes again. So what motivates you to continually improve as a defensive player, and how do you stay focused on your goals? Because seems like you've spent time and, Joplin, Missouri, you came back here for a little bit, went to Midwestern State, there's always so much distraction, to take you away from, your eye on the prize, the game. What has, like I said, motivate you to continually grow?
Right. So I know you're kind of very specific in your question about asking just generally about football. Well, football is just a small part of it. And to answer your question directly but indirectly, it's more of just a mindset and becoming disciplined.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if you want to be the best football player, the best doctor, the best teacher, the best nurse, the best marketer. I feel like it just requires discipline, no matter what you want to do. Discipline, it requires energy, enthusiasm, and just that willingness to win and be the best. So I'm just happening to play football right now. So that's where I put my energy towards. That's where I do all my research towards, my time and effort. All that right now is just going into football. And so I feel like all that just comes down to that foundation of being disciplined.
Okay. So I guess to kind of rephrase, your goal is to be disciplined, to be enthusiastic, to be energetic, and it just happens to be right now you're focused on football, so all that is getting put into this entity of playing football. Right.
Because and then that's what I really love about sports too, is because in order to be great at it, like obviously you got to have a lot of God-gifted blessings, the size, the strength, the speed, but without that discipline and that desire and that enthusiasm, right?
True.
Because there's been plenty of times.
It agrees.
It agrees. Yeah, there's been plenty of times where it's like, man, I don't want to do this, or let me just sleep in for 5 more minutes.
True.
I tell myself to wake up at this time, and if you don't wake up at that time, or don't eat this, but you eat that. You know what I mean? It's just those small battles of discipline, of like, there's plenty of things I'm pretty sure in your life, and I'm pretty sure anybody watching that can agree, or it's just, you're gonna have to do things in life that you don't want to do. And if you're not disciplined enough, or if you're not holding yourself to that standard of excellence, no matter what you're doing, if you don't have that discipline, then you'll never achieve that level.
I think people do forget that a lot. People think just because you're good at something, that like you have this God-given talent, but you're not going to go anywhere if you don't have that foundation and that discipline to take you to that next level. No matter what.
No matter what. Like I said, no matter what you're doing.
Can you share any specific strategies or techniques you use to study? This is kind of going back, focusing on football a little bit. Any strategies or techniques that you study to help your defensive play?
Yeah, I mean, because right now, like with me being a coach, and at the middle school level, where it's like, okay, how can I teach these kids everything that I've learned from playing college, from being trained by NFL players, by being trained by NFL trainers, and they're telling me everything while I'm older and I kind of understand the game. And it goes back to where, okay, how can and I get this from Kate Samuelson, which she's the athletic coordinator there at Vista Ridge, and how can we take that elite level mindset, discipline, technique, and effort, but simplify it to the middle school level, right? And so as I'm teaching these kids where it's their first year playing football, maybe their second year playing football, right? And middle school, the football season is only about 8 weeks.
Right.
And 8 weeks it goes by like that. because my first football season here coaching with these kids here, man, it was just an absolute blessing. And these kids are so talented, and it just makes me want to be better myself. It makes me want to go achieve my goals because I see how hard they work. And I'm kind of getting off topic a little bit right now, but I know a lot of these kids were, it's hard to talk to kids now. It's hard to get kids to listen nowadays. Mm-hmm. And so for me to kind of go in there and, they're actually locked in and they listen to me, right? It allows me to pour everything into them that I know. From the heart, it's so real for me. And going back to answering your question, right, it's like, how can I simplify this to them? Okay, so if I'm teaching these kids, to be a D1 athlete or eventually go to pros, and obviously you can't just jump from, you gotta work your way up. You gotta learn how to crawl and walk and sprint and then, build your way up to those levels where it's like, okay, do I want to teach them? First you gotta get your feet right. You know what I mean? Like it's a very technical sport. It's technique, it's assignment, alignment, effort. And it's like, so what if I was to be retaught and if I was to teach somebody, right? And if I would wanted to be taught, how would I wanted to hear it first? That first time they're really being coached up, where it's like, okay, man, well, first of all, this is your assignment, right? I don't really care how you do it, right? But if this is your gap, right, it's a team sport, right? So if this is your gap and you're supposed to hold your gap, or you're supposed to, step left when, everyone else is stepping right, it's first of all, you got to know your assignment. You got to be very disciplined of understanding the team goals, right? But when it comes to those one-on-one, especially being at a defensive line position, where it's like, okay, you want to take your power step, you want to play with your hands above your eyes. That means you can't be standing straight up. You want to play low. Football is big people playing low, and you got to take your steps. Okay, well, once you get your feet right, then you got to get your hands right, and then once you get all that right, you got to get your eyes right. And so I'm teaching these kids first how to take the proper steps, right? Then how to engage a block, how to disengage a block, and then obviously tackle, right? Because that's the end goal of the game, where you got to make plays. You got to see ball, hit ball,
See ball, hit ball.
See ball, hit ball.
To me, explaining that, to me it sounds like coaching has helped you become a better player. And it's almost like you're saying, get back to the basics.
Get back to the basics. You're absolutely right. And obviously, yeah, like you said, like with football, getting back to the basics. But for me, I've been lifting my whole life, and I pretty much thought everything I knew was, I was just kind of rehearing and reteaching everything. But one thing that I would say coaching has really helped me with, especially with being at Vista Ridge and coaching with the coaches I coached with, and especially Cade Samuelson, it was like we're teaching these kids 6th grade, 7th grade and 8th grade how to properly power clean and hang clean, which is just a very technical lift, right? And I always thought mine was fine and dandy, but going through the steps, phase, position 3, position 2, position 1, reaching triple extension, catching it with your elbows up, front squat, right? Breaking that step down, right? Because I feel like with football, I kind of like got that, but when it came to other stuff of coaching techniques and how to even break down other things, I don't know everything, right? So it's a great blessing to just be a part of a winning culture where you can learn so much, and as I continued my workouts, where I was able to break it down as I record myself and have those coaching cues in my head, where it's like I just hit my personal record and power clean. Nice. All because I feel like I had that proper technique.
Congrats. So back to the basics. Don't forget about technique.
Exactly. Technique.
Is coaching something that you've always wanted to do?
Coaching is always something I feel like all my coaches told me I would be great at.
Okay.
And as far as like where I would have landed it in my life, I didn't think I would have been doing it right now. Right now, I thought I'd be somewhere in corporate America doing my marketing gigs. That's what I got my bachelor's in, right? And there's some things best just come unexpected. And I always wanted to coach. I just didn't know when or how. But, you know, having this opportunity, I mean, it's really a blessing, and it's really opened my eyes a lot. And I feel like it's made me become a better person, a better football player, and a better coach, obviously.
How do you feel, getting to coach for a school that's in a district that you played in, for under a high school that you played at, with coaches that that are still there? How does that feel?
Yeah. So shout out to all my Ridge boys, Vista Ridge, Fossil Ridge, right? Fossil Hill. I went to Fossil Hill, so I, got to shout out to Fossil Hill as well. So being able to coach at a middle school that feeds into my alma mater, I mean, it's just like a dream come true almost, because growing up just 5 minutes down the road, when I was starting this process to become a coach and to become a teacher, right? Like I started that process because of the coaches at Vista Ridge approaching me. And I was working at Home Depot, right? And they came in wearing their Ridge gear, and I knew we just had a new head coach.
At Vista Ridge?
At Fossil Ridge, at high school, because Coach Baccarini, shout out to the man, Coach Back, he had just retired, so Coach Ramsey came in, he stepped in, eventually brought in his own staff, right? And I knew, this was while I was in college, so I wasn't sure, I haven't met the new head coach yet, just kind of heard of it, seen it on social media. I know some of my coaches, Coach James, Coach Grounds, right? All those guys are still at Fossil Ridge, but, it's almost like mainly the new head coach's guys in there, right? So I wasn't sure who was the head coach, who was the D-line coach. I wasn't aware of, I haven't personally at that time met the high school coaches. So when these guys came in that I was unfamiliar with, wearing just Ridge gear, decked out, baseball cap, T-shirt on, and I had this, hey, you guys, he came in, the athletic coordinator, Samuelson, he came in, he had just bought a house, looking for some,
some DIY stuff.
Some supply. He came in looking for a dishwasher or refrigerator or something, I can't remember. And I was selling appliances. He came in looking for appliances. And I was back there, doing my little salesman thing back there for him at Home Depot. And you guys, coach at Ridge? He's like, no, man, Vista Ridge. I was like, okay. And then Vista Ridge had opened up towards my end of the senior year. So I graduated, and then Vista Ridge opened up. It's a fairly new school. It's only 5-6 years old, and I graduated 5-6 years ago. And I was like, really? Well, man, shook his hand, met him, told him who I was, played at Ridge, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, yeah. Well, great meeting, man. Let me get back to you. And he walks off with, at the time, I didn't know who, I couldn't remember. It was Coach Schaefer, right? I don't know how I forget this man, but I will never forget Schaefer. Once you meet Schaefer, you're never going to forget him. And so
Martin Schaefer?
Martin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to school with Martin.
Exactly. And so they came back, and I'm adding details I didn't know at the time, and he's like, man, we Googled you, seen everything, and he's like, we had a coach that just resigned, and he just officially put it in this morning. We're looking for a coach. Man, do you want to come coach with us? And I'm like, sitting there with my orange apron on. I got I don't think I was wearing a blue polo at the time, some Wranglers and some work boots. And I'm like, yeah, bro, what do I got to do? You know what I mean? And he's like, oh, let me get back. He made a few phone calls, we got his number, exchange information, and now we have an ongoing joke that's he could really go to Home Depot and find anything. You know what I mean?
That's what they say,
yeah,
right?
And so now that I'm leaving, he's like, man, you know anyone else at Home Depot that can coach? And I was like,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a great time there. Great little story there.
Well, definitely, I think like, everything happens for a reason. You had transferred there because that was like your part-time job when you were in.
Yeah, so like, during like when your senior year, obviously you don't do spring football.
Right.
Right. So you just do classes, graduate, bounce.
Mm-hmm.
And so like football alone, especially in college, I mean that's a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you don't have time to get a little job.
Right.
I mean,
Football is your job.
You can.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're really like
stretching yourself,
right? And I feel like you couldn't do it at a high level while working, because if you're in your free time you're working, it's like, okay, well, when are you recovering? When are you getting your extra work in?
Right.
And just so on and so forth. So I was fortunate enough not having those full ride scholarships where I didn't have to work. Man, shout out to all my people who did work, during their college career, because it's not easy, and you're built different for sure. So once I stopped playing football over there in Midwestern, then I was like, man, I might as well I got to spend some time somewhere, because I can only be in the house for so long, and my workouts are only an hour and a half, and I mean, I'm only playing the game for like 2 hours before I lose my mind. So it's like, what else am I going to do with the 20 hours of the day?
Might as well make money.
Sleep 8, you know what I mean? Sleep 6, really. So I was like, start searching for jobs around there in Wichita Falls, and Home Depot was the highest paying at the time. So I was like, cool. They worked around my schedule and got the job. Started off as a cashier over there, transferred here. Then they really saw like my salesman, my little natural salesman thing I got, and that's when I started selling appliances over here. So I was like, when I graduated, I didn't want to have no job.
Right.
And so I was like, hey, would you guys be able to, after I graduate, would you guys be able to transfer me to the Home Depot by my house? And they were like, well, we'll see, why not?
Yeah.
And so
it worked
cool.
out. And and that's how you got to, lead you to being a coach at Vista Ridge.
Yeah, and so like that Home Depot was like the only Home Depot around here. So I mean, I met a lot of people, and you run into, Home Depot is just like, everyone has to go.
Everyone goes to Home Depot for something, Home Depot has everything, even coaches.
Literally.
How did you kind of switch gears a little bit? You kind of got approached in Home Depot and got the opportunity to coach. How did the opportunity to play in Germany come about?
I kind of wanted to talk about this too, because, one thing I love saying is, best way to get ready is to stay ready, right? And Coach Pick, man, the best strength and conditioning coach I've ever had in my college career, he always said that. He's like, best way to be ready is to stay ready, or get ready is to stay ready.
Good words to live by.
Right, and so with working out, obviously it's part of one of my hobbies, and then like that's where it comes back to that discipline aspect of it, where you're doing something where it feels like you're just doing it just to do it, right? And I've never been someone just to go through the motions, but it's a lot harder to be working towards something when nothing might not even be there. You don't know what the end goal is. You don't know what you might get out of it, right? It's a lot easier to have a date and a time set in the future, and then you work towards that, right? Where it's like, okay, I know the football season is going to start in August, and so I got from May to August to really amp it up. Or if you didn't have that season in August coming up, are you still going to work as hard as you're going to work, right? So it goes back to that discipline aspect. Obviously I love lifting and working out. It's just part of my hobby, and only reason why I had this opportunity was a lot of people saw that I was still in shape, still ready to play, still ready to go. And so Coach Long, man, shout out to Coach Long. He was my defensive line coach in high school. He also coached my other brother in high school. And he started coaching overseas in Brazil and a few other places, and he was going to go coach over there in Europe as well. And now he's out there in Odessa coaching just high school ball again. I know he's still working his way around, and he just had a few things come up, I believe. But he's the one who
Did he reach out for you, or did he point you in direction?
He pointed me in the right direction. I know he reached out to quite a few people as well, and he was mainly the guy that got the ball rolling for me.
That's very cool.
He kind of gave me that desire again, or like maybe I don't gotta hang up the cleats. I don't gotta hang up the cleats yet, you know, and so he definitely helped me out tremendously throughout that process. Where if he was in Brazil, still coaching, then I was gonna go out there and play with him, you know, just to get some recent film and then see where it goes from there. He was gonna go coach out in Europe, so he told me about NFL Europe and everything they got going on over there, which is, he told me it's 10 times better than going and playing in South America, because obviously over there in Europe they're a little bit more funded, a little bit more educated, sophisticated, right? And you know, NFL goes out there and plays over there in Europe also, you know. And he kind of really got the ball rolling for me. He guided me in the right way and did everything he said, put it all together. He reached out, double checked a few references for a lot of teams that hit me up. And, you know, JC, Coach JC, the head coach for the team I'm playing with right now, Dusseldorf Panthers, he reached out to me. Had a few conversations back and forth, and then they finally pulled the trigger on me. So, you know, it can't wait around. Like, if it's there, take it.
Yeah,
you know,
gotta take that opportunity while it's there. How, and then funny, you know, it's the Dusseldorf Panthers.
Yeah.
That's like almost like full circle.
It's the circle
you
of life.
Ended up coaching at your.
I was
same.
The first Pee Wee team for the Texas School of Football I was on was the Panthers. Right, and then I was at high school. You know, obviously we were the Panthers. Right, now I'm coaching at Vista Ridge, which we're the Panthers. Right, to get signed by a team, you know, where their mascot is the Panthers. I mean, I feel like it's just a story tale.
Yeah,
right? You can't write it up any better.
It's definitely something. What are your aspirations for the future, both in your football career and just, you know, in life?
Well, I've always had an entrepreneur mindset, I believe, and I started growing into that and really seeing what my limitations and where I could grow with it during my college career, you know, starting up a few businesses with GoldenEye Marketing, the Oso's Cocktails, right? And so obviously, and then being a business major, I feel like that business aspect of it is always in the back of my mind. And you know, that's another reason why I'm starting up this YouTube channel as well, not only to just promote myself and market myself and brand myself and, you know, see where the Oso's brand can lead to, but, you know, I always just want to be the best that I could be, and you always got to have that entrepreneur mindset behind it, right? Because eventually, you know, I want us to where our family doesn't have to worry about anything, where I kind of want to be like an Elon Musk type money or Jeff Bezos type money, where you know, they're not just me and you are okay, or Bree or Anthony's okay, but you know, Ava's okay. You know, when eventually you have kids, they're okay. When I have kids, they're okay, and then even their kids are gonna be okay. And to see where this Oso brand can really lead to, I feel like the sky is the limit. And so, main thing that I want to do is really just give back to my community. That's why I was really excited to take this opportunity to coach, right? And take this opportunity to go and invest into myself overseas and see where that could lead to. You know, take the time to invest into a nice little quality camera to see where this YouTube can go, because I mean, consistency pays off, and I feel like I'm the one who can really truly understand that word. If you're just consistent at something, being disciplined and consistent, you know, this first video is not going to blow up, but you know, if I stay consistent at it,
consistency is key.
Exactly.
Last question I want to ask, because you kind of touched on this a little bit in your last answer. What legacy do you hope to leave behind as a defensive player, as a coach, as a person, and what message do you want to impart to any aspiring football players looking up to you?
Right, so, man, legacy is everything to me. I want to be a legacy player. I want to be, there's so much that I aspire to be. And so much that I could hope and just dream to be, right? And especially going up 5 minutes down the road and kind of going back to earlier on in our conversation is when all those other schools were hitting me up to go coach and teach for them, well, I chose Vista Ridge because, you know, I can relate to more of those kids. I could pour into those kids more and give those kids more than per se if I went to Keller or a South Lake where, you know, all of them have personal
That was
trainers.
almost a legacy in itself.
Exactly, right? And our parents didn't have much, obviously, growing up. They tried to do the best that they could do for us, you know, sometimes them going without for so long just to give us what we needed and what we wanted. And shit, Dad told me, I remember this was a while ago, Dad told me, I was a little kid, Dad said, you know, I don't got much, but I gave you that last name, so don't mess it up.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's been so many times where, you know, I'm trying to go on the right path and, you know, you got everyone else in your life going left and going right, you know, making a U-turn, going the wrong way. And it's like so many times where Mom and Dad's voice in the back of my head telling me, man, don't you screw up. Don't do this. You can't do that. You can't afford to do that. Right? And so, man, leaving that legacy that, like I said, that Oso brand, something that we could all be a part of, something that we could all benefit from, you know, that's leaving a legacy, right? And hopefully, you know, going through this past year, teaching and coaching, you know, pouring everything that has been poured into me and to these kids has just been a real blessing, and hopefully that could be the start of a legacy where no matter, you know, if a kid was listening or a kid wasn't, you know, hopefully the same game that Dad gave me, that Mom gave me, that y'all gave me, right, that some of these kids don't have, hopefully whatever I said to them can be locked into the back of their head. So as they get older, okay, Coach Alvarado said this, and I kept it just in the back of my mind, and now I'm experiencing this, and so now it's starting to make sense, you know? And if that's the only thing that came about it, man, I'll consider it a success.
I have no doubt that, you know, that's already happened to some of these, you know, young men. They probably already are hearing you in the back of their head.
Yeah, right. And the middle school level, I mean, I know they're just kids, so a lot of people might, you know, as adults, a lot of people might be like, oof, you know what I mean? But it's a great time because they're still just becoming about themselves, and
they're still so moldable.
They have they're so moldable. They still have a chance. Like
they can go this way or
compared
that
to like being a senior or junior in high school, that kid might be kind of stuck in his ways now, right? But I mean, with a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, 13, 14-year-old, I mean, they got plenty of time, you know, to get back on the right path, to get back on the right mindset, and truly just become wherever they want to be. And as long as they know, you know, you got to have discipline, you got to have enthusiasm, right? And really just the willingness to be a winner. I don't care if you're winning in the classroom. I don't care if you're winning on the football field, winning in the corporate world. Like, as long as you're a winner and you have that discipline, that desire to be a winner, then I know that they'll be okay.
All right. Well, Alex, appreciate your time.
No, yeah, thank you.
Cheers to Oso.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was good.